States.
Here with reaction, Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin. Senator, good to see you. Listen, wanted to just get your reaction.
Good to see you, Sean.
Again, we have conflict burning around the world. We have economic problems that are popping up around the world, humanitarian rights issues around the world. And here Joe Biden's going to go to the UN and again talk about climate. Again, a sign that his priorities are completely whack.
Right. Well, what it shows is that you don't have a president that actually believes in peace through strength. He doesn't believe that that America is the world power and should act like the world power. Instead, it's through appeasement. It's diplomacy through appeasement. And since he can't run on strength because he's lost credibility with his disastrous withdrawal out of Afghanistan, with his weak policy in Israel, with his wavering support in Ukraine, with his weak diplomacy towards Russia, with China being able to run wild, he can't really talk about strength. So what is he going to go to? He's going to go to climate change, why the world is literally on fire. You see, as I went through this just a second ago, you see Europe on the brink of a larger war. You have the Middle East that is literally on fire as we speak, and you have shipping lanes in the China Sea that is literally being disturbed constantly by the harassment of President Xi's weak Navy. And so where's the U.S. in this?
Yeah.
Nothing. And what we're going to have is absolutely not even addressing it. We're going to ignore it tomorrow with the President of the United States. But hey, at least he found the stage, or maybe he'll find the stage. And if he can find it, maybe he can find his way off, right?
You know, normally I would say it's not really a big deal. He's a lame duck president. No one's listening to him anyway. But the fact that Kamala Harris has said her values haven't changed over and over and over again when it comes to energy and when it comes to climate, he is a little bit of a mouthpiece for her, since she's not sitting down and doing interviews and actually addressing the issues. So there's a part of me that looks at this and says, this is what he's, you know, spouting to the world with his megaphone, and this is what she will continue.
Jackie, you're absolutely correct. Her policy is going to be actually to the left of where Biden's policy is. Remember, Biden was a puppet for the progressive movement. She is the progressive movement. She openly said when she was a senator that she was actually to the left of Bernie Sanders. And remember, Bernie Sanders openly claims to be a socialist. So I don't know where the left of a socialist is, but that's where she's at. So wherever her policy, wherever Biden's policy is, she's going to be to the left of it, which is not good for our especially our foreign policy, because our adversaries are betting on that, and our friends and allies are wanting us to be the America that we've always been.
And the American people have a right to know where she stands on these issues, and it's the media's job, and they've completely failed to call her out. It's shameful. But let's go to this, Senator. While Kamala Harris attempts to connect with uninterested union members, her husband, Doug Emhoff, cast blame at Teamster President Sean O'Brien for not endorsing anyone, saying, quote, even though Trump, you know, bullied the leaders of the Teamsters to not do an endorsement, these Teamsters are not going to listen to some guy in D.C. who does not have the courage to stand up to Donald Trump, right? Can't have that. And here's what I find interesting, Senator. Again, when they did the balloting for the Teamsters, Donald Trump, I believe, won 58% of the vote. Donald Trump should have 59.3. That's why we have you smart senators on the show, to get that number exactly right. But again, what a crock.
Yeah, you know, well, I would like Doug to tell Sean that to his face. Yeah. I mean, and I mean that sincerely. Obviously, Sean and I have had a back and forth, but we actually get along pretty well. And when I met with him several months ago, early spring, late winter, him and I sat down, and of course, we hashed it out. We had a really heart-to-heart conversation, but we developed a working relationship. And one thing he told me back then, he says, listen, I'm a Democrat through and through, born a Democrat, died a Democrat, but my brothers, meaning the Teamsters, they've left. And they haven't left necessarily where I'm at. They've left because the Democrat Party left them first. And he says, my brothers are voting for Trump in a massive number of over 50%. And that's when Biden was still in office. So what he is doing, and he said it openly, he says, I'm the president of the Teamsters. I have to represent the majority of my body where they're at. And it puts us in a tough situation. And then when the DNC didn't even invite him to speak, I actually called him and I said, man, I'm so sorry about that. I hope this isn't because of Republican convention. He says, no, it has nothing to do with that. He says, we were at this place before I got here. The problem is that we've always been with the Democrats. and they've taken us for granted.
Yes.
They've taken our workers for granted. They've taken my brothers for granted, and they think we're always going to be there, but they have to earn our support every election. And what's happening right now, the Republicans are trying to earn their support.
And I would just add, look at what's happening with the UAW. They're not representing the union members there, and that's why Kamala Harris is so worried about Michigan and trying to go after it, because they promised those people they would help them. And what did their green energy and EV policies do? They destroyed them, but yet the president of that union will stand up and say, no, 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 we still support you, because they're towing the party line. I mean, it's ridiculous. You have to represent your people.
Well, Jackie, look at General Motors and look at Ford. Their electric vehicle programs have actually cost them billions of dollars.
Yeah.
And yet Kamala Harris, she wants to ban all combustible motors by 2035. That's going to bankrupt Detroit. That's going to bankrupt these UAE manufacturing companies. So where are they going to go get a job? They're going to go to overseas? Are they going to go work at Tesla? I mean, where are they going to go and be able to make the money they're making now?
They're still waiting for the green jobs
disturbs
they were promised, Senator.
Yes, that's right.
Unfortunately,
That's
we're
right,
out
Jackie.
of time.
Markwayne Mullin, thank you for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.